Sindhudar Jagadish, the resident of the Auroville Foundation, said Frederick was named in an internal inquiry report which accused him of allegedly inciting mob attacks and allegedly creating hurdles in developmental work sanctioned by the authorities. The foundation says these were serious enough for the government to act. Frederick, however, says he has not received any such notice from the government. He denies the allegations and says he's being targeted for standing up to several other things, particularly the new administration. India is my home. I beg your pardon. Auroville is all I have, says Frederick. With no close ties left in Germany and most of his children and grandchildren living in India, like he said in his video, Frederick says deportation would uproot the only life he's ever known, and that is in Auroville in Puducherry. A man who once fled the trauma of Nazi Germany as a child and found hope in India. He was just 10 when he was made to visit Dachau concentration camp, a horrific memory that pushed him towards idols of unity and peace. It was those idols that he says Auroville once stood for. Several Aurovillians and several supporters from around the world have signed petitions asking the government to reconsider, calling his petition a humanitarian concern. And now, joining us today is Frederick Schulze-Buxloh himself. Frederick, thank you so much for making the time and joining us on the South Indian on this broadcast. Frederick, I want to first ask you that, that I saw that video, I read enough about you. Why is it what everyone is interested in? A man who's turned 86, who came to Auroville when he was 60, in the 1960s, and built it up from the ground, from scratch, getting bread there, seeing that the roads are laid. What do you think is the reason that you have been served a Leave India notice, Frederick?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. May I call you Sudha?
Yes, please.
Like to
it would be a pleasure.
I would like to correct right from the beginning. The government of India has been extremely benign from the very beginning to allow some experiment, an international experiment, on its state, Tamil Nadu, to be created. The mother was very insistent it should be in Tamil Nadu, in South India. I also met the different chief ministers, and we have the blessings of the state, of the central government. So nothing came from the Home Ministry yet. What has come is a result from refusing to give a recommendation for my visa. And then automatic replies are coming, which has nothing to do with a conscious decision to deport me. I have not received a Leave India notice. I have only been told that the extension of my visa, which has been extended first by the mother recommended, then by people like J.R.D. Tata recommended, this has been refused by the Foreign Registration Office in Chennai. So again, I would like to plead to the government of India, my gratitude to India and you, the government, representing Bharat Mata. So that would like to be clear. What made them meet me, I'm at the twilight, as you say, of my life. I try to bend my head and be quiet and stay quiet. But certain ideas for which I came, which is an experiment, an international experiment, and no other country in the world would have allowed something so unique to be placed on soil. And I tried to say, my family is here, my daughter was endangered by JCBs, and I stood in front quietly, no violence, nothing, just a quiet dana. Please don't do this to Auroville, to my children, to my grandchildren. That was all I can think of, maybe the reason that say I protest or I obstruct what is called government work.
Now, it says that the recommendation is deemed to have come from the foundation secretary. Would you like to explain that? Have you had a chat with him or her? I presume it's a her. It's a bureaucrat, the foundation secretary, if that is correct, Frederick. Have you had a chat as to what really is creating a hurdle in giving an extension to the visa that you say you deserve, Frederick?
This is speculation. I think if I can, Sudha, you don't mind if I go a little bit deeper. I need a shake-up, or will need a shake-up, and maybe the instrument of the foundation and its secretary brings us to this wake-up call, which is a necessary thing. And I don't want to point fingers. The recommendation for a visa is actually a pro forma visa. All the previous secretaries have always based their recommendation of an internal examination of recommending an Aurovillian. That was a pro forma thing. The present one takes it upon herself or himself to decide whether that person is worthy to live in Auroville or not. And maybe that is also her function. I cannot figure out one particular incident where I might have either intentionally or unintentionally offended the secretary, the foundation, the ideals of Auroville, or the laws of the country. I don't know. I ask for an explanation, and I would pray that I be able to answer this accusation. It is mentioned, so many things are mentioned, that I have Benami land, that I'm flying so monoplanes over restricted area when Jayalalitha was in her house. I don't know. It is all mixed up. The accusations are just thrown at me, and I like to stay somewhere in the light of for which I came, and I pray to the mother that I be allowed to spend my rest of my life in India.
Yeah, because according to Sindhuja, the notice was a result of an inquiry committee's report which named Frederick, among others, for buying Benami properties in both Puducherry and Kodaikanal, obstructing developmental activities at Auroville, and organized mob attacks. Illegal activities can be leveled at anyone, like you say, but you said you haven't received any. These are serious allegations, Frederick. Now, if you are quoting Jayalalitha's time, I mean, that is history. I mean, to pull those things now to obstruct it seems rather strange to me, Frederick, because it's very clear what Sindhuja says, obstructing developmental works at Auroville. But for me, most important is developmental work can be subjective. But inciting mob attacks, where is that coming from, Frederick Schulze?
Good question. You asked the question, I asked the same question. Neither do I know how to fly. I have never had Benami land. That allegation that I hold Benami was investigated and my name was cleared officially. These are old accusations with no foundation. So if you want to spend this time now to ask, is it right, is it wrong, we can do it. But my real hope is that we can get above this, what you say, accusation and counters. I do not know. None of the accusations have any grounds, and I have been cleared of anything which might have been said against me.
Have you heard anything further, considering that, it's been a couple of days and this story is now swirling? It's one of the biggest stories which is emerging from the south of India, from Puducherry. Have you heard anything so far? What is your deadline like? How are you preparing, considering that you are a man who's lived in the ashram for so many years, and I'm sure that, you may have no fear, Frederick, that way.
I must say, actually, even from people who were on the sidelines, even people who did not want to come forward, I celebrated my 86th birthday yesterday. There were over 500 people hugging me. I have never been kissed and hugged so often. But I feel that if there is a chance to reconcile, if there's a chance to express my in verbatim, personally, my apologies, if I might have offended somebody, I'm quite willing and happy to do so. I have a sense that it can be reconciled. But there has to be, you have to understand, it's an international experiment. Mother wanted new forms, new ideas in education, in agriculture, in house building, and even in social experiment. We have to find new ways. And the government, both state and center, have been extremely tolerant with us. We have children who have grown up, they have no formal education, but the Indian school system allows them to enter the formal education. So I'm really full of gratitude at this moment. And strangely enough, while I'm under pressure, the first thing which comes into my heart is gratitude to India and gratitude to the government.
Right.
I don't know more.
Yes, but Frederick, before I let you go, there's one thing which recurs in what you're saying is that I may have offended someone in the past. If I have, I need to be forgiven. Anything that you feel in retrospect, in hindsight, because in our twilight years, we introspect and think about what may I have done for me to have invited this? Not illness or the loss of your loved ones, but an act like this. Anything particularly you feel that, maybe I just did cross the Rubicon here?
The Reka line. You know, I have a certain attitude. I'm German. I might be offensive in my action. And when I walk through the villages and I greet people, I don't speak the language. I might have done things which are not done here. It's quite possible. Even though I've been 60 years, I've been trying to learn the language. I've tried to adjust to learn habits, because Germans is not my country. India is my country. So what I'm trying to say, even the secretary as a person, or any minister, or any joint secretary, or any media person, in my attitude, in my way of expressing, even my children sometimes when I talk, they say, "Oh, Papa, don't be so strong." I may be too strong. I don't know. I hope I can dress it in a way that my love and my gratitude comes out. I don't have one specific point where I say, "Oh, I have crossed the Rubicon." I don't know. I think it's my attitude. My attitude may be sometimes aggressive, maybe sometimes too stubborn, maybe I have too stiff a neck, too stiff a back, and I'm practicing bending. And like when the mother in her last year, she was totally bent forward, and she had a great sense of humility.
Right. Frederick, on that note, thank you very much for speaking with News 9 and with me. And I hope that, you're happier in the next few days and you get what you're really praying for.